pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield, down the near side, man open. Touchdown! Looking deep, he's got a man. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one on this beautiful Saturday. I hope all of y'all are having a fantastic weekend thus far. Welcome back in. We got one for y'all today. We're going to talk about a lot of things, man. You know, we go back to when, you know, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle were asked about Tua or Mac. Well, now that that a little NFL resume has been accumulated for Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, Jerry Jeudy was asked on I Am Athlete, which one would you prefer to lead the way and throw the ball to you? So we'll get into that. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the Hill suspension today. I got a little thing we're going to play from Florio because I think it makes sense. Some of the stuff he says. Mina Kimes, she doubled down on the defense. We played the clip last week where she said that she believed we were going to have the top defense in the AFC East and a top 10 defense in the NFL, potentially top 5 is what she said. So we'll go over that as well. We got a lot to cover today. We're also going to talk about Zach Sieler because I think this needs to be talked about either way. And so, yeah, we got the Bills continue. Rumors continue to rumble and leak out. So we'll go over that too. But before we do and get into all of that, I hope all of you are having a fantastic day. Please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Over 115 of you in the room already. Thank you very much for spending some of your time on this Saturday with your boy. Now, let's get into something I want to talk about. You know, the one thing about the Tyreek Hill situation is it's opened up, it's opened up a lot of people's eyes, and seeing that the whole Watson thing wasn't just an isolated incident. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is for good or bad, when you had people jumping to the fact that Deshaun Watson was guilty, whatever the case may be, when it hadn't even gone through the process yet. And now, we had Dolphin fans doing that, non-Dolphin fans across the NFL were doing that, of course, sure. And 27 accounts, hey, there's got to be some smoke to that fire, that's for sure, But what shocked me is, especially in our own fan base, it seems some people are begging for or pushing or hoping Tyreek Hill gets suspended. I've seen people come out, they don't even have all the facts, right? And calling him trash, calling him scum, automatically assuming he's guilt and, multiple offender, all that kind of stuff when they don't even know the facts. Like, why not just let everything play out? Now, what's and I've had this conversation with a few people. What's really telling about a few people, right? There's going to be people who are just automatically jump to conclusions, assumptions, whatever the case may be. But you've legitimately got a portion of this fan base right now, albeit maybe a small portion, where they're straight up out here hoping, and some of them have even publicly said it, they're hoping Tyreek gets suspended because they're hoping it impacts Tua Tagovailoa's play, And they're out here hoping that it exposes Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, that's where we've gotten to in this fan base and to the levels of delusion we're at right now. Right? You got so many people the same people who are out here and telling all of you guys things that we saw last year Tua wasn't capable of. Right? It was one thing they would say it wouldn't happen, but they would also say he couldn't do it. The things we saw, i.e. getting in the MVP race. I still hear them trying to make excuses for the Ravens comeback, which is just such odd behavior when you're a fan of a team and you're making excuses as to why your team won a game. That's just basically where I'm going with this is these people aren't fans of the Miami Dolphins. You know, they come out here and they call people Tuaneers. And they say, oh, you put Tua over the logo. Well, these people put their hate for Tua over the logo. To the point where they're now hoping one of our players gets suspended. And then they're hoping it exposes our quarterback. And I got a news flash. If our quarterback gets exposed in any way, shape, or form, that doesn't sound very good for the record. And last I checked, my team's record matters a whole hell of a lot in the regular season because that dictates our playoff standing and all of that. So you got people out here. Let's do in turn here. They are praying or hoping for Tyreek to get suspended so that it can expose Tua Tagovailoa without realizing that if all that stuff happens, you know, these people, I want you to understand what kind of this is why, you know, you can't even say what kind of fan. This is why you got to come to the conclusion that they are not fans. These people would sacrifice a season or two of Miami Dolphins football if it meant Tua Tagovailoa was out long-term vision, if it meant he was gone from Miami. How fucked up is that? These people, and pardon my language on that, but what else can you say? You got people who claim they're fans that would be okay with 2 losing seasons in a row as long as it meant Tua was gone. Like they would. That's this whole roster we've built. For all of us that have been around since the Marino era, at least, and some of y'all out there have been around since the Greasy era. This is arguably one of the best rosters we've ever seen. It is, I will say it's the best roster we've seen since Marino left. If the offensive line was taken care of, this would probably be one of the best rosters we've ever fielded as an organization. And people want to see that blow up in our face just so they can see one single player gone, or they can be right about him because of their narrative or their agenda. Think of how messed up that is. We've been building towards where we're at right now since 2019 when we tanked. Like, we've been building to get to this point for the last 4 years, and they'd throw that all away if it meant Tua Tagovailoa wouldn't be on the team, and they want to claim that they are fans? Tell me where this makes sense. I just don't get it, man. I don't. It's just strange, weirdo behavior for me. If you think like that, you're a weirdo. I'm sorry. You are. You're not a real fan. A real fan, listen, bro, you don't care if it's Tom, Dick, or Harry at quarterback. You want to win. End of the story, bro. I don't care, bro. You could that could be a reptilian from somewhere, you know, from the Palladian galaxy. For all I care, as long as they bring me a Super Bowl. You know, I said this with Josh Rosen. What would me and Em always say about Josh Rosen? Listen, we don't know him from a can of paint. We know he's not the answer. We hope we're wrong. And I would always say, I don't care if my quarterback is white, black, purple, yellow, orange, green. Don't matter as long as we can win. And right now, we've got a guy where in year 2 of this offense, after we saw in year 1 and everything surrounding him, if he stays healthy, you're talking about a guy who's going to flirt with 4,500-ish yards. I mean, you're talking about a guy with everything around him. He's capable of throwing for 5,000 as long as he stays healthy. So, you know, and a lot of these people loved Chad Pennington. If you liked Chad Pennington when you're here, but you're bitching about Tua Tagovailoa, we got to have a conversation, you know? I'm just saying. And some of these same idiots are the same ones who told all of y'all, oh, Cam Newton's going to be the best quarterback in the AFC East when it comes here. You know, the same people, Josh Rosen's a franchise quarterback. You know, same people who would have drafted Derek Brown over Tua Tagovailoa. Stop right now. Jesus Louise. And they're out here and they're pushing this narrative. They're hoping and praying Tyreek, like literally, some of these people have said it publicly that they're hoping Tyreek gets suspended so it exposes Tua Tagovailoa. Are you crazy? I don't want any team on my player to get exposed. Everyone knows I'm not a Jerome Baker fan. Do I want him to get exposed at the interior linebacker position? No. You know why? Because that's going to result in negative plays for our defense. I want to win. I don't want any negative plays for our defense. I want nothing but positive plays for our defense. So, there's players I don't like or prefer, but do you see me hoping on their downfall? No. Why would I? Dude, I'm not an Austin Jackson fan. Haven't been since he was drafted out of USC. Everyone knows this. Am I hoping and praying for his downfall? No. I don't want to spend draft pick or more capital on the offensive line that we don't need to. It's best for this franchise if he works out. I've said that from day one. I'm not one of these people who have bashed the guy the whole time and then turn around and say, well, you know, if it is bad, I hope I'm wrong. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not one of those, right? One thing you can say about Reason, you don't flip-flop like a pair of sandals on the beach. But praying for players' downfalls is weird energy. It's just, you know, arguing, like I saw people arguing against Jalen Waddle for Jamar Chase when it was evident, it wasn't even close last year who had even when they were both healthy, it wasn't close who was the better receiver on the football field last year in between Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase. Wasn't even close. But any chance to bash their own players, you know? I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Someone explain it. I didn't, you know, I've always been able to critique. I'll tell you a story, okay? I always go back to the Penguins. I always go back how I was a Penguins fan. And there was a player we won a Stanley Cup with. His name was Jordan Staal. He was a third-line center. But I always knew what he was. I knew he wasn't a number 1 or a number 2 center. I knew you couldn't count on him for big minutes. I knew you just couldn't depend on him in big moments. He was never going to be that guy. And he was in the perfect position as the third behind Sid and Gino. Perfect. And I would go into Penguins forums and I would tell this and you get, see, that's critiquing. That's realistic. I wouldn't go on and be like, oh, this guy's trash. This guy, oh, get rid of this guy. I hope he sucks so we trade him. Like, no. You know, you got people that literally, they go from being critical about a player, which still you got to walk a fine line being critical. They go from being critical to making it personal with these players. Right? Everyone knows. I will go back to Jerome Baker. I'm not a fan of Jerome Baker, the player, but I still am totally objective about it and admit he's gotten better every year. And I tell everyone he seems like a great person. Jerome Baker, the person, no problem with. Jerome Baker, the football player on my team, you know, I've had issues with. Right? That's critiquing. That's not making it personal. And, I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on YouTube. Like, I've seen it on Facebook. Like, I've seen people calling Tyreek names. I've seen people automatically assuming Tyreek's guilty. And I've seen people hoping he's guilty so it exposes our quarterback. Like, I'm sitting back here being like, y'all just can't let the legal process play out. It's our own player who's been a stand-up teammate and player in that building since he came here. Y'all just can't let the judicial process play out, and you can't wait a few weeks till we start getting all this information, because we still don't have all the information. But all these people want to jump to these conclusions, and they've got either agendas or narratives. It's just crazy to me, man. And the fact that it's coming from our own, I expect this from Bills fans. I expect this from Jets fans. I expect this from Chiefs fans. The fact it comes from our own fan base, man. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Shout out to Arturo. Kitchener Waterloo. Thank you. I'll just never understand this. This is just weirdo behavior. Strange behavior. You're a straight up weirdo with an agenda if you live like that. And I don't know what else to say, man. It's like certain people, it feels like certain people were like, oh, we got Tyreek, yeah, but they were waiting for him to slip up. And as soon as he slipped up, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, man, get out of here. Get out of here. You got people on our own fan base preying on the downfall of multiple players on our team. It's just strange behavior, man. I can't get on board with that. Anyways, that's what I got to say about that. That's where I'm at on that. So I've noticed it. I had to say my piece on it. Let the judicial process play. We haven't even seen the video. Y'all haven't even seen video evidence. What if that video comes out and it's someone in his crew? Huh? Now what? Instead of jumping to conclusions, y'all are going to feel like you should have jumped off a bridge. Because you're going to be so embarrassed. So anyways, listen. Like I've said, I really haven't given any opinion on the outcome of it. My whole thing is I'm worried about Roger Goodell because I feel like this logo has a target on it when it comes to the Dolphins. So, whatever. But, listen, let it play out. Stop jumping to conclusions, and all of you praying for either Tyreek's downfall or Tyreek's downfall leading to Tua's downfall. Get a grip. Jesus Lord. All right, let's get into it. So, let's talk about something. Jerry Jeudy, this clip came out from I Am Athlete. Let's decipher this. Let's play the clip, and let's talk about this, because I got a bone to pick with I Am Athlete too here, okay?
Or Jalen, throw you the ball to lead the way. Who you taking?
It was Tua or Jalen.
Oh, come on.
You know I like to get messy. Come on, Jerry. It's business, like you said, Coach Saban. You ain't talked to Coach Saban since you left.
What I got to do with Tua and Jalen, though?
Yeah, that's not the same thing. Not quite the
It's
same
business.
thing.
I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick a quarterback.
I'm thinking about my Bama days. I'm finna take Tua.
You taking Tua and Bama?
Mm-hmm.
He's taking Bama Tua, not
Yeah,
Miami
that's what I'm
Dolphins
saying.
Tua.
That's what I'm saying. Was he just like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you used to see them games.
Right.
Man.
Okay, first of all, he's taking Bama Tua, not Dolphins Tua. Okay, who is this chick? Okay, I Am Athlete. No wonder Omar jumped off that ship, eh? Because the stuff I've heard about Brandon Marshall, he's a couple crayons short from a full Crayola box, right? And, the guy's, he's not all there. And, why are we saying, he's saying Bama Tua, not Dolphins Tua? Are you crazy? Did you not see Dolphins Tua last year when he was healthy? All right? Go turn on a Dolphins game, all right? Who's the better passer? It's not even close. Who the better passer is right now between Jalen. Did Jalen get better last year as a passer? Sure. Is he ever going to get to keyhole accuracy? Is he ever going to get to the anticipatory levels of Tua? Stop right now, okay? He will never touch Tua Tagovailoa as a passer. Now, as an athlete, Tua will never touch Jalen Hurts, unless, Jalen Hurts blows out every ligament, right? But as an athlete, Tua's obviously not going to touch Jalen Hurts. But as a passer, especially in that pocket, let's stop right now. And Jeudy knows what the answer is, and I'll do you even one better. Why are we even having this discussion? Nick Saban, arguably the greatest talent evaluator at the collegiate level, already lets y'all know who the better quarterback is, did he not? He sent one pack into Oklahoma, and the other one became his guy. Same thing goes to Mac. Saban already told us who the best one is out of Mac, Jalen, and Tua. Arguably the greatest collegiate talent evaluator. Changed his whole offense to fit Tua as well. Never been done under Saban. Saban already gave us that answer. So we don't need some broad out here saying, Bama Tua, not Dolphins Tua. Nah. Saban already let y'all know. And guess what? Newsflash to that whole I Am Athlete crew. If you ain't been watching, Tua's getting back and building on what Bama Tua was. Bama Tua already been back. He built on it. We saw MVP Tua. MVP conversation in the NFL means more to me than a Heisman conversation at the collegiate level. I don't know who needs to hear that, but you can hear that. That's a bigger conversation to be a part of, being an MVP in the NVL, being an MVP in the NFL, than being a Heisman Trophy winner in the NCAA. What matters more? Stop right now. Real talk. Give me MVP conversation Tua over Heisman conversation Tua any day of the week. Right? Heisman conversation. Heisman winner, we don't know what they are at the NFL level. A guy who's in the MVP conversation at the NFL level, we had got a good idea what that guy can produce. Just saying. Give me MVP conversation Tua over Heisman Tua or Tuscaloosa Tua. Give me MVP Tua. All right? Shout out to Jerry Jeudy, though. Out here pressing them. So, Omar Kelly. I wanted to talk about this. I was going to talk. We've hinted at it anyways. But I want to talk about it anyways. Let's get into this. National site suggests Sieler, however you want to pronounce it, Sieler trade. The Miami Dolphins have tough decisions to make with their roster, but would they really consider trading one of their defensive linemen? The Miami Dolphins will have an awful lot of tough personnel decisions to make over the next several months and into next season, between maneuvering around the salary cap and dealing with many contributions. I think they meant contributors in need of new contracts, but contributions, okay. Grammatically, I don't get it. And yes, it may be that one way to deal with those personnel issues is a trade a veteran or two. And this brings us to a recent story on PFN suggesting 3 trades the Detroit Lions to push them over the top in the NFC North, with one of those trades involving Dolphins defensive lineman Zach Sieler. The story suggests that Sieler could be on the trading block because of his desire for a new contract as he enters the final year of a contract due to pay him under $3 million. As a hypothetical trade, Dallas Robinson wrote, the Lions have 2 third-round picks in 2024 as a result of last year's Hawkinson trade. They could offer the Dolphins the lower of those 2 selections for Sieler and agree to a pre-trade contract extension before officially acquiring him. Yes, the Dolphins have a looming issue on their hands with their salary cap, where they're already over the projected 2024 limit by some $30 million based on their current commitments. And yes, Sieler wants a new contract and likely is looking for a huge pay raise, which is why he didn't participate in any of the offseason practices, even though he did attend. But here are the 2 reasons why the chances of this kind of trade happening are somewhere between slim and none, and probably closer to none. Look at how the Dolphins have put together the roster for 2023. Does this look like a team that's going to trade a solid starter for a future third-round pick when all the moves suggest it's going all out for a Super Bowl run? I agree with that. Just as importantly, one look at the Dolphins roster should tell anyone that the thinnest part of the roster is the defensive line. Not counting edge defenders whose role is clearly different, the Dolphins roster has Sieler, Wilkins, and Raekwon Davis as pure defensive linemen, along with Josiah Bronson, Jalen Twyman, Anthony Montalvo, and Brandon Pilley. The combined experience of those last 4 players is 8 regular season games, all by Bronson over the past 2 seasons, and Montalvo and Pilley both are rookie free agents. So what sense would it make for the Dolphins to trade Sieler now and exacerbate the depth issue along the defensive line? See, this is good stuff by Omar and Alain Papar here. The Dolphins have a looming issue on their hands, so listen. And it goes into here, having said that, the Dolphins absolutely have an issue on the defensive line that's going to have to be addressed because it's not only Sieler who's coming into the final year of his contract. That goes the same for Wilkins and Davis. I want to get your opinion here right now. Where do you guys stand? Would you make Zach Sieler a trade piece right now if it were to bring you? Listen, I'm going to go away from a draft pick because I agree. The draft pick is not what you want to move him for. You want to move him for a piece, right? Like, for example, and I'm not saying they're looking for Zach Sieler right now. I'm just using them as an example. New Orleans, right? The word on the street right now is Cesar Ruiz, because he didn't get his option picked up, that he might be a name they look to trim. Would you move a Zach Sieler for an established interior offensive lineman right now? Right? We don't know what Wynn's going to be. Would you move him for a left guard? Would you move him for a right tackle? Would you move him for another safety? Or an interior linebacker? Would you move Sieler for an interior linebacker? Those would be, but then you run into the fact that a lot of people who are contending and would try to bring on Zach Sieler to move them over the needle, they also don't want to move off of roster spots. So, we're all in. That's a tough water to navigate. What I've been told privately is Zach Sieler is going to be asking for top 15 defensive tackle money. And the point there that Wilkins, we don't have his contract worked out. Raekwon Davis, he's in a contract year. And then behind them, it's UDFAs and minuscule NFL experience. So, it's a tough decision right now. It really is. I get that. But let me ask you this in the chat right now. If a team came up and offered you, I want to hear you in the chat. If the team came up and offered a starting caliber left guard, right tackle, or interior linebacker, would you pull the trigger on a Zach Sieler trade? Or instead, would you say, no, too important to what we have, too important to what we got going on? Because you're running into a game of you're all in to win, and if you extend Christian Wilkins, you're not paying Zach Sieler. People got to get this out of their head. There is no way we are going to re-sign Wilkins and Zach Sieler. Just no way. Not going to happen. So you're going to have to choose one or the other. Now your decision comes. Do you make that choice while you can get some value for one? Or do you let the season play out and then let them hit the market and walk for free or a compensatory pick? It's a tough decision, man. That's why Greer gets paid the millions. It's not as easy and as cut and dry as people might think it is, right? So we played Mina Kimes last week and how she picked us to be the best defense in the AFC East. And she picked us to be a top 5, top 10 defense overall in the NFL. Well, guess what? Mina, she's getting on her good side, ladies and gentlemen. She doubled down.
It's one thing to bring in Vic Fangio and everyone's like, yeah, Vic Fangio, he's really good. Okay, fine. But a defensive play caller is nothing unless he has the personnel to execute his philosophy. And Chris, I just think the pieces they have are so perfect for a Vic Fangio defense. And were miscast, frankly, before some of them. It just makes sense. Not just the guys they've added, Jalen Ramsey, who we've seen play in this kind of defense before. David Long, the linebacker out of Tennessee, I think also makes a ton of sense. But the guys who are already on their roster. So what do we know about Vic's defenses? Light boxes, which we talked about. You're going to see a lot more split safety, less blitzing. So the thing you need, starting up front, to actually execute this sort of light box philosophy is you need defensive tackles who can control more than one gap. Christian Wilkins, let me tell you, ESPN has that run stop win rate, which is basically, do you beat the blocker, do you push the runner back or whatever. Christian Wilkins first amongst all defensive tackles. Zach Sieler, very underrated defensive tackle, 23rd. So they have two top dudes in run defense already on this team. So to me, when I think about Vic Fangio coming in, I'm like, absolutely, they can execute what he has. And then I think Jalen Phillips is on the verge of becoming a star. Cornerback group's really good. I mean, what is not to love about this Dolphins defense?
You know, and I agree, and this is something we've been saying, like, I think we're on the verge of having a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. And, you know, switching to this gap and a half responsibilities, we got guys who can move for it. And that's another reason why I just don't see them moving off Zach Sieler. And a name she didn't mention, Emmanuel Ogbah. Ogbah's a guy who you can also move inside and can make it happen on the inside. Right? Ogbah's another name this year that they're going to rotate. I don't think Ogbah will be gone this year. I know Fangio's a fan now heading into next season. You know, Ogbah joins the list of guys where, you know, he could be up, you know, that creek with no paddle. But we'll see. But that defense and that defensive front, listen, we know the depth is thin on the interior, but when you go from just starters across that front, wow. It is something to behold. It is a strong suit of this Miami Dolphins team right now. It is really, really something to behold. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I think we'll see Jerome Baker play better again this year. David Long, if he stays healthy, I think he's just going to have, playing behind that front, David Long's going to have a freaking field day. A field day. An absolute field day. So, you know, and then beyond that, I still think, you know, I would love if we added another linebacker. I really would, an interior guy. I really would. I would be in favor of adding another interior linebacker. Listen, our weakest points right now are tight end, interior defensive line depth, interior linebacker depth, and, I mean, you could go guard depth, and you could go tackle depth because we got a bunch of, like, I mean, we don't – see, the problem is when you got depth and they're the type of depth where you don't want to see those guys on the field, listen, it's one thing when you don't want to see the guys on the field because you have good starters. It's another thing when you got guys you don't want to see even for, like, half a game or a game because you know they're that bad. You know, you want guys that you're okay with for them filling in for the rest of a game or a 1 or 2 game stretch if they have to. No, those are good depth pieces. Guys you don't want playing the full season, but you're okay with them playing 1 or 2 games or filling in the rest of a game if someone has to leave. Those are good depth pieces. Guys you don't want seeing a single snap as depth pieces, that's when you got to worry. So, anyways, continuing on here, you know, we're going to get into that in a sec. But this is what Florio had to say regarding Hill's suspension, and I wanted to talk about this because I see a lot of people trying to say, you see the Chicken Littles are coming out and saying, oh my God, look out, this could affect the season, you know, season. So we're going to play that. Before we do, shout out to the homie, shout out to Joe Holt with the donation. Appreciate you, my guy. He says $25 because you are the reason. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for the donation, sir. Hey, all I try to do is bring you guys some reason, logic, understanding, and as much information as possible. So this is what Florio said. Let's talk about this, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, especially from the guy who said, I'm worried about Roger Goodell because he's a wild card.
Let me start with this Tyreek Hill situation. Now, the reporting has kind of been all over the place. I kind of wonder how good some of the sources are that some of the reporters in South Florida are using. It started as in the aftermath of an incident where Tyreek Hill allegedly hit a worker at a marina. It started as the worker doesn't want to press charges. Well, the police report says the worker does want to press charges. And then there was a report yesterday from South Florida that the investigation is concluded and there will be no charges pursued against Tyreek Hill. Well, then last night, NFL.com had a story with a quote from the Miami-Dade Police Department to NFL media, owned and operated by the NFL, that the investigation is ongoing. And the NFL's interest in this is significant and potentially ominous for Tyreek Hill because the league has the power under the personal conduct policy to investigate and potentially discipline, with the enhancement, as we discussed earlier in the week, of additional punishment arising from the guilty plea back in 2015 to choking and punching his then pregnant girlfriend. So this doesn't seem to be over for Tyreek Hill. And even if there are no criminal charges, just ask Ezekiel Elliott. You can still get suspended 6 games by the NFL without a criminal charge, without even a civil lawsuit. If the league is motivated to investigate, and if the alleged victim is motivated to cooperate, you could have a problem. And then you throw on top of it that there is indeed surveillance footage. I mentioned yesterday there has to be. It's everywhere nowadays. Yeah, surveillance cameras did capture footage of the incident. We haven't seen them yet. The NFL doesn't get them. I guarantee you TMZ will, just like they did with the Ray Rice video that turned the league upside down nearly 9 years ago. My God, time flies. So we will be keeping a close eye on what happens with this, in part because Tyreek Hill, fairly important fixture of the Miami offense. He does have that history. And remember, in 2019, there was an incident, there was a situation, there was something that went down that ultimately didn't result in any discipline or any charges for Tyreek Hill. But he's been kind of notorious on the fringes of notoriety. He came in under a cloud of negativity. It's one of the reasons he slid all the way to round 5, got kicked out of Oklahoma State, and now an issue that will cause some concern in the short term. But one thing we know about the personal conduct policy and NFL players, it does take a while for it to get going. So probably nothing that would culminate in a suspension this year, but it's something for Dolphins fans and for Tyreek Hill to be keeping a close eye on.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks.
See, okay, so I agree with what, listen, I agree with what he said at the end there, all right? If this thing does draw out and the NFL gets involved, I don't think you'd see anything come until after this season, right? Because this is a long process, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they would need to, we've never seen them expedite things real quickly, you know, unless it's a serious situation. I mean, look at how long the Deshaun Watson stuff took to draw out, right? For them to finally, you know, make something. But okay. And this just goes back. He made a lot of points of why I'm more worried about Roger Goodell than I am of the criminal charges right now, right? Look at the examples. We've used multiple examples of, you know, guys who no civil suit, no charges, and still what happened? Still, they were disciplined by the NFL. And, you know, we go back. I forgot. Listen, the one I remembered was, 2019, 2018, the incident with his kid. I totally forgot about the 2015 thing with his baby mom or whatever. They love Roger Goodell. They love to dig up the past as well. So, listen, I think he's right in the sense of it is something to monitor. I wouldn't monitor from a criminal standpoint. Watch it from a player standpoint, an NFL standpoint, because I don't know if much is going to come from it. Criminally, it seems like, yeah, the investigation's open, but it seems like it's going to have to go the civil route more so than, You know what I mean? Criminal charges are going to be laid. And if they were, they're going to be a misdemeanor, apparently, right? So, listen. Such a good offseason. I know everyone's disappointed because we've had nothing but positive press. You knew something negative. We can't wake up and every day is positive sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Eventually, a storm or a little bit of a little bit of a weather cloud was going to roll in. So let's hope this passes quickly. Let's hope this is a big nothing burger and it ends up being that. But he's right. If the NFL doesn't get a hold of it, TMZ is going to get a hold of that footage. You can bet everyone's got a price, like the $1 Million Man said. So, we'll see. Everyone's mum on it right now. And all we can do is sit and wait. But what I will stress, again, based off my opening thoughts tonight, let everything play out, guys. Until we start seeing, video. Video is where you guys can start jumping to conclusions. And even still, the video's not going to have audio attached. And I've made this point. In the police report, it talks about how, he was being restrained, how he had to be held back. What was said for someone to have to be restrained or held back? What was said? It wasn't just, get off the boat. That's not going to drive someone to get to that state of anger where you got to hold them back. So even if video comes out, we're still not going to know the full context. Sure, we'll have a much better understanding of physically what happened, but we're still not going to understand the whole context of the situation unless one of those guys had a mic on them and the whole conversation was picked up. If we get the whole conversation picked up on mic and the video, then yeah, I'd say come to whatever conclusions you want. But remember, even if we get the video, we're still not going to get the conversation, and people are going to come out, well, no matter what was said, you shouldn't get physical. Excuse me, as someone with a wife and 2 children and who's also in an interracial marriage, if anyone crossed a line with my wife or 2 children, whether verbally by calling them derogatory names or overstepped the line of their race and their background, I'm sorry, there would be a physical issue. All right? I'm sorry. There would be. And you can say whatever you want about me, but at the end of the day, you guys look at these people, they're not just $30 million checkbooks walking around. They're humans as well. So you got to take in the human factor here, guys. I'm sorry. All of us who are husbands or wives, we are protectors of our family. And we are protectors of our loved ones. And some of us are protectors even of our friends. If someone gets derogatory with people that we care deeply about, yeah, some of y'all are going to snap. And don't sit there and sit on, act all high and mighty, sitting on your clouds, poking your chin up. Don't even start. All right? Don't even start. Because then I'm going to come into question how much, I'm going to start questioning how much you really, how big of a protector of your family you are. Because, yeah, we'll go there. So let's not act like that. So, yeah, if we get the video, that's going to add a lot of context. But remember, it's not going to add all the context. We need to know the conversation. I need to know why someone was restrained. I need to know what was said. Because I don't see something small setting someone off like that. Anyways, we'll eventually find that out, I'm sure. Interesting enough, we're talking about defense, interior linebackers, all that jazz. Well, guys, shout out to Chris Saccone. He's been pushing he's a barber, and he's Reuben Foster's barber, and he's been pushing to get Reuben a look. And, he was shouting out Malky Kawa, and this is Reuben Foster. Guys, this is his agent. And he said, sit tight. It's been in works for a minute regarding a potential Reuben Foster tryout for at camp. And, Reuben Foster, I don't know if you guys saw it, that guy was playing lights out for the USFL this year. Lights out for the USFL. He was really good when he was playing for the USFL this year. And, people forget, right? We had him for a workout last April, right? April 8th, 2022, we had him for a workout. Obviously, no deal was reached, but we did work him out last April. I guess it's potentially going to work for another camp invite for Reuben Foster. And if people remember that man coming out of Alabama, what a stud he was coming out of Alabama. And quite frankly, I know it's the USFL, it's not the NFL, but, man, that guy's been lights out in the USFL as well. So, shout out to Reuben Foster. Hopefully he gets a look. Because we can use help at that interior linebacker position. We sure can. Guys, one thing we've been covering here, because it's just been hilarious. It's like watching the Titanic hit the iceberg. It's just, it's horrible, but you just can't look away. The Bills. I want to show you guys this. Check this one out. From Heavy. New reports suggest Bills privately open to trading Stefon Diggs. The Buffalo Bills have made public assurances that the situation with Stefon Diggs is under control, but a new report claims that the team might be privately willing to consider trading the star wide receiver if the circumstances are right. Diggs stirred up drama when he skipped on the first day of the team's mandatory minicamp on June 13th, with head coach Sean McDermott saying he was very concerned with the situation. McDermott made an about face the next day, saying that Diggs' absence was excused. And, anyways, while there are no solid reports that the Bills have engaged in any talks about trading Diggs or fielded offers, Benjamin Albright, in a June 19th episode of Broncos Country Tonight, said sources close to the team confirmed that the front office may be open to the idea. This is what he said. I talked to some people in Buffalo on the condition of anonymity, and they said that publicly we're not moving, and privately we would consider it under the right circumstances. Wow. And I can sit here and vouch for Ben Albright in terms of the source side of the stuff. Ben Albright is plugged, and he's plugged pretty well. And when Ben Albright's coming out here and putting a report out like that, keep your eyes on it. Stefon Diggs for the right offer. Now, the right offer would probably be like high draft picks. You know what I mean? I don't. Let's get this correct. You'd probably have to blow them away. You'd have to blow them away with an offer. I don't think they'd just move him for the sake of moving him. So, sure, reportedly, you might be able to trade for Stefon Diggs, but you'd have to make a good offer. Guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. Guys, if you didn't see it, look at Jalen Waddle. Look at this man's footwork.
Good. Right.
Oh,
Right. Good. Right. Good. Step. Time to go. Go. Right. Good. Right. Good. Get busy. Right. Switch. Go. Left. Left. That's it.
come on. Are you crazy? Look at this man. This man has built his body up. He's strengthening it. You can see he's more powerful. He's ready to take on those press at the line. He's ready to take that press on at head on at the line right now with the size he's putting on. And now you look at the footwork, man. This man, good luck to defenders trying to stay up with this man off his when he's trying to release off motion. Good luck. And you know what? Here's another reason why I'm going to say it. If Tyreek Hill got suspended for a game or two, we got Jalen Waddle, baby. We got Jalen Waddle. Like, come on now. Come on now. All right? We don't got no schmo. We got a legitimate number 1 as our number 2 right now. Waddle is putting in the work to take the next step this year. And, man, I am excited to see Jalen Waddle in year 3. Man, we all thought last year was a movie. This is about to be his version of the Cannes Film Festival, all right? This thing is about to pop off this year. I cannot wait to see Jalen Waddle. Man, I can't wait to see the results of all his hard work. That's all I got to say, man. I cannot wait to see the results of all his hard work. Check this one out. The 33rd team, they came out with a list of the best team at every position. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. So they say right now we have the best cornerback room in the NFL. But I'm just sitting here to make the argument that position above us on wide receiver, I think we got the best wide receiver room in the NFL. Listen, I know everyone wants to say, Jalen Waddle had a better year than Jamar Chase last year. Okay? Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in year 1 in 2021, they didn't do what Tyreek and Waddle did in year 1 of them together. So what are we talking about here? Listen, do I think the Bengals have a top 10, top 5 receiver room? Sure. But what are we talking about here? Literally in year 1, Waddle and Hill themselves put up the 3rd most receiving yards in the history of the NFL by a receiver duo in a single season. And now we've added Robbie Anderson. We've added Braxton Berrios. Who are you taking as your 3? Like Robbie Anderson, who at worst is a 2 in the NFL right now, but we got him as a 3. Who are you taking? Robbie, Chosen, or Tyler Boyd? I'm taking Chosen. So, listen. And look at everything Waddle and Hill did last year without Tua. They didn't have Tua for 5 games and they still finished with the 3rd most receiving yards between the duo. I'm just saying. So, listen, do I think we have the best cornerback room in the NFL? Yeah, I'll agree with that. But I think we have the best receiver room in the NFL. And I noticed how they had San Fran as the best running back room in the NFL. And I think if we get Dalvin Cook, that becomes us. I really do. And like Jamar Chase was over 300 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Jamar Chase was great in 2021, but last year when he was healthy, again, he wasn't even touching Waddle, let alone Tyreek Hill, and that's their number 1, but they got a better receiver room than us? Stop. Wait till they get a load of Eric Zakama in the red zone as well. Right now, the Miami Dolphins, I don't know how anyone could make the argument that we don't have the best wide receiver room in the NFL. I just don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Right? So, anyways, that's it. See, Justin, I agree. I like how our injury, but in certain areas we're not stacked for injury. Interior linebacker, right? Are we stacked for injury on the interior? If Raekwon goes down, right now we're leaning on Brandon Pilley to be our zero tech. Right? Like, there's certain areas still where you can tell, like if Deshaun Elliott goes down, who's, Brandon Jones is stepping in. But then the problem with Brandon Jones is Brandon Jones can't cover like Eric Rowe could. So, yeah, I agree. Like in the wide receiver room, we got guys that can step up. In the receiver room, we got guys that can step up. Corner room, I think we got guys that can step up. Off the edge, we got guys that can step up. You know, I think there's certain areas, sure, but there's certain areas where we're not totally set yet. And Rudy, I wouldn't pass on Easy because he's making that roster this year. And we can make a friendly wager if you want to, and if you don't believe he will, because Easy E will be making that 53 this year. Cedric's the one. I don't know what's going to play with Cedric. Right now, Cedric to me is like wide receiver 6. And that's the feeling I've gotten internally. And the other internal feeling I've got is if they could make it work, they'd pick River Craycraft over Cedric Wilson too. So it don't get any better for Cedric. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Listen, I don't pray on the injury of any player or the downfall of any player because that takes money off their table. But at the same time, we got to watch those injury reports closely during training camp because if any decent receivers jump up and into that, we got to Cedric, baby. Cedric. Who needs what? So, listen, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I am what? I don't know if am I going to I think I will be. I'll be back Monday. I won't be back tomorrow unless something breaks in the day because your boy's going to Forbidden Door at Scotiabank. I'm seeing if I can make it out to Collision tonight too. So I'm going to Forbidden Door tomorrow. It was the Father's Day gift from my wife and my girls' floor seats. I'm going to be six rows back from the ring. So, floor seats, and I'll be right next to the entrance ramp, the stage where they walk down. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. So unless something breaks early on, expect me Monday. But until then, please, over 300 of you in the room, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I will see all of y'all on the next one. I appreciate all of y'all. Fins up all day, every day. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.